So do you think he would be better off with no community versus being in the community that he's in?
See, that's a very complex question. Um, I would say
Oh yeah, those are some pretty cool shades.
thank you. I took them from a friend.
Right on.
Yeah,
So what's your name?
I'm Jesiah, Jesiah.
Jesiah.
Yes, sir.
Okay, cool. Good to meet you.
Nice.
Did you get kind of a good idea of what I'm doing?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Is there an idea that you have that you want to explore that you think is true?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that community is probably the number one most meaningful thing in my life.
Community?
Yeah, just community. Having people around that understand what you're going through, and even if they don't understand what you're going through, are there to be able to listen to you and give you comfort in a time of need.
Okay.
Yeah.
Community is important for you
Mm-hmm.
because you have others to kind of hear you
Yeah.
and kind of be with you
Yeah.
whenever you're
You have other people that you get to enjoy life with. Yeah. That you
okay.
get to experience life. Not all of life is enjoyment. There's a lot of pain and sorrow during life and throughout life. Things can get really difficult, and it's very easy to feel hopeless and fall into negative things without a healthy community around you to be able to say, hey, I can see that you're struggling. I can see that you need help. And I want to be able to be there to at least show you the right steps to take to continue the right path to be able to improve your life and have a life that brings you bliss and peace.
Cool. What what are the what's the criteria for community?
For community, for me, my criteria for community, uh, it involves having people around who are willing to listen to anything that you need to speak about, no matter or how much discomfort that brings to you or to those other people. I think that community involves people who are willing to open up and be open with you and communicate with you. Um, I think that community is, for me, to be a part of my community, you have to be able to respect the things that I have to say, even if you disagree with them. And even if I disagree with what you say in a community that I feel safe around, it's allowing people to have their own opinion and voice their own things that they believe is their truth and respecting that. Um, Also in community, like having people who are able to um, reach out to you when you're in a time of need, and having people that you are willing to and want to reach out to when they're in a time of need is so important, because I believe that if you want to be a part of somebody's community but they don't have the effort, or you don't have the effort to put into those moments or those times, that is not respecting their time or who they are as a human being.
Okay.
Um,
So like a community, kind of like what we were talking before, like a support network.
yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
People that are there whenever you need it, and
Absolutely.
then you're
People
kind
that
of
you
there.
can support and that will support you and will just give anything that they are capable to give in that moment of need, and people that you would do anything and give anything for in a time when they're
Is there a range of numbers of people that constitute a community? Like, does it have to be a certain amount of people
I
for it to
don't
be?
I don't think so. I don't think so.
So a community could be two people. You're saying.
Yeah, so my life, we've always had a decent community around who I've been around. I grew up with my father not in the picture, and my mother is a paraplegic, so she raised me and my sister her whole life uh, with only the use of one arm and with no support system other than her family and her friends. And we moved around a lot. I'm 22 years old. I'll be 23 next year, and I've moved 17, 18 times in my life. Um, and every single time we've been able to find a community of people who are willing to care and reach out and give back to their community and give back to the people who are in need. And fortunately for me, I have had to be on the side of that is the people who is in need, and I am so fortunate to be able to be blessed by all of these people who are so gracious to be able to give back. And I don't think that without that support system that I had growing up, wherever it was that I was, I don't think that I would be able to be as functioning as a responsible adult as I am now.
You're you're you feel fortunate to have the communities that you've been able to find
Yeah,
in whichever situation you've been
yeah,
in.
yeah.
Is there a limit of people that can be in a community?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. I
So
believe
a community could be the
it could be
everybody alive.
it could be everybody alive. Yeah. It just matters about how much care you have for that person in your heart and how willing you are to express that and how willing you are to show actions to prove that.
Is a community always beneficial?
No. No, I think that there are a lot of things that we go through in life that we need to know how to do on our own. And I think that having a community around in some of those times is not beneficial because if you only have people to rely on, you will only ever rely on other people. And if you can only ever rely on other people, then you won't know how to problem solve or be able to handle difficult situations when you are alone and you don't have that community around you. Um, if you always just look to other people for help, then you just kind of become someone who needs to be nurtured instead of somebody who knows how to react respectfully and responsibly to what you need to be reacting to.
Could a community be harmful?
Yes, absolutely. I don't think that um, every community is a good community. Um, I
What would make a community a bad community?
it kind of I think that ties into morals and what you want and what you expect out of your life and what other people are doing and their actions in their life and what they are choosing to do can affect that very deeply. I just had one of my classmates passed away pretty recently. She overdosed on fentanyl right after getting clean and moving to a completely different state to go to a rehab facility. She relapsed and she took some drugs that had fentanyl in it and it overdosed her. And the person that she was dating was somebody that I was fairly close with in high school, and he wasn't the smartest individual in the manner that um, he didn't respect himself. So he would do things for other people's amusement and he would do things for his own pleasure. But a lot of the times, the things that are pleasureful for us can also be very harmful. And they ended up slipping into doing those kind of things. And he is now a part of a community, but it is not a healthy community. He's he's living in a drug house where they do different drugs in every bedroom, and it is so depressing to have to see and hear things about that, because he did find a community, but it's a community that's choosing to do negative things that are harmful to them and other people. And I think that you need to be very wise about who you choose to have close to you. I believe that you need to find attributes of other people that you admire, and you should grow close to them and see what gives them that attribute, and ask the questions and find ways to be able um, to obtain that attribute yourself. And that's something that I've had to work a lot on. I've grown close to people who have very high patience, because I used to have a very low patience capability, and now I'm a very patient person because I was able to grow close with those people and grow a community with them and be able to see how they respond and react to difficult situations. And that was very healthy for me to be able to say, oh, this is the right way to react to this. This is the correct response to this situation that is not going to be a negative impact on myself or my mental health or the people around me.
Okay. I'm sorry to hear about your friend.
It's a part of life, and it's part of addiction.
And she was dating this dude.
Yeah.
So do you think he would be better off with no community versus being in the community that he's in?
See, that's a very complex question. I would say that the community that he is in is doing nothing for him. There's no benefits to where he's at right now. Just because he's around other people who are doing the same things and he is in the same household, I don't know that I would consider it a community, because they're not reaching out and they're not helping each other. They're not saying, hey, this is something that we shouldn't be doing. We need to get help, because they can't see that that's a problem.
Okay.
Right?
So it may not even be a community, is what you're
Yeah.
saying.
Yeah. And it looks like a community to the outside, because those are the people that we see interact with them, or we say, oh, they live in this house, they must be a community. But I think that for it to be a community, it needs to be something that's going to be beneficial to you.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it sounds like,
Or at least for my definition of community, there needs to be benefits on both sides that are going to positively affect your life.
okay. So it sounds like one of the criteria that you have for a community is that it's beneficial or positive.
Mm-hmm.
Are you saying that there is no such thing as a harmful community then?
No, because I believe that people think that they're in a healthy community, and they might not necessarily actually be in a healthy community. I've got some other friends who like to do some hooligan shit, they do things that might not be legal, and they don't see a problem with it. They have their group of friends that are close to them, and they will protect those friends with every bit of their life, and they believe that those friends will protect them with every bit of their life as well. But when it gets down to the nitty gritty, I don't believe that pact is as strong as they believe that it is, or that community is strong as they believe that it is.
So they would call it a community.
Yeah.
But you would not call it a community because it's not beneficial.
Because I have a different outside perspective of what a healthy life is to live.
You have a different standard of what
Yeah.
a community
Yeah. And
is.
I think that everybody's standard is going to be different, and that is going to play a role in their life. And if what they think is beneficial to them is something that I know isn't beneficial to me, That doesn't mean that they don't think that that's a healthy, beneficial community for them. But for me, I can see from an outside perspective that that's an unhealthy situation, and that is something that I will divert my energy from. I won't put my energy into that, because that gives opportunity for uh, negative situations to become.
How do you decide whether or not to let somebody into your community?
I think that the only way that you can decide whether someone gets to become a part of your community or not is by getting to know them. And you can't get to know somebody without giving them your trust. And for me, I used to struggle with that a lot. It was very difficult for me to trust people or put my trust in other people. And I've gotten to a point in my life where I'm comfortable and I will give anybody my trust. And when they show me any intention that doesn't deserve that trust, then I will take away as needed. And that doesn't mean that I won't be friendly to them, or I won't communicate with them, or I won't, be their friend and be there for them, but they might just not get as much effort as I would put into something that's going to be beneficial to me as well.
Okay, so you went from somebody needing to earn your trust
Mm-hmm.
to you're going to trust them until they do something that
Yeah.
betrays it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And that doesn't always give me a negative outlook on who someone is as a person, because I believe that it's very easy to get a negative outlook on somebody when you lose their trust, when they do something that shows that care and affection that you thought that they had for you isn't necessarily why they had it for you. Maybe the motive changed, or maybe you feel as if the amount has changed. And it's difficult to be able to give someone else that same amount of respect and care still after that. But I don't hold any hard feelings towards things like that, because when you give someone all of your trust, that is a choice that you give to let away. And when they show you something that says, okay, well, maybe you don't deserve 100% of my trust, but I will give you 70% of it or 30% of it, and you can either work your way up, or you can stay where you are and you can stay stagnant. Whatever you want to do, that is your choice, because you are your own individual. But it will affect the way that I react to you and the way that I respond to you, and the amount of time that I give you, because I don't like wasting my time on things that aren't going to benefit me, but also that aren't going to be healthy situations for me to be in. I'm not going to put my time into something that is only going to be a negative outcome for me.
Cool. Sounds like you're saying that you're accountable for how much trust you give out.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay. Cool. Is there anything else you want to say about community?
No.
Okay. You have any questions for me?
Yeah. What's something that's meaningful to you?
What's meaningful to me is kind of doing this, kind of
Goodness.
giving members of my community a space to kind of think a little bit more deeply about something that they think is true.
Yeah, absolutely. That's super awesome. How long have you been doing this?
With cameras and stuff, less than a year.
Less than a year?
But kind of casually, not on camera, and like communicating with people online, probably more like 3.
3 years?
Yeah.
Wow, that's impressive.
3 or 4, something like that. Yeah.
Would you say that this is... I'm so sorry, that kid was very distracting to me. Would you say that this is your passion, coming out and interviewing people and giving them an opportunity to have a voice to speak and think on things that are meaningful to them? Is that something that you've always wanted to pursue, or is that a new passion for you?
I like to connect with members of my community, and I don't like to argue. And so this gives me a chance to do that.
Mm-hmm.
And so a lot of times we get to explore topics that might be sensitive,
Yeah.
or controversial.
Mm-hmm.
And instead of arguing, what I try to do is understand where they're coming from,
Yeah.
how they arrived there,
Yeah.
and in doing so, it helps them understand themselves better too.
Absolutely.
And in the course of a conversation, if they find out on their own, by having the interview, that the reasons that they're using to support a conclusion or a belief aren't as reliable
Yeah.
as they maybe thought they were before, I think that they could make potentially better decisions.
Yeah.
And the beliefs that our community has affects their behavior.
Yeah.
And that affects the rest of us.
Absolutely.
And so if people are walking around with better reasons for holding the conclusions that they hold, I think that can improve our well-being as a community.
Absolutely. Absolutely. The fact that you're out here and you're finding a way to be able to communicate with such a controversial community out here. Lots of people have different beliefs, and arguments are very easily stumbled upon. I think that this is a beautiful way to be able to communicate with people and give opportunity to give different insight to people that they maybe were struggling to find on their own, but they were able to come to their own conclusion because of you. I think that that's super awesome. I think that being able to speak to a community and be a listening backboard for people who need to communicate things and want to share personal things is very beautiful.
Thanks for saying that.
Absolutely.
That's great.
Absolutely. I love talking to people. I work at the mall actually, and so I talk to people all day.
You mean like in retail or something?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So I'm a salesman over at and so I talk to hundreds of people every single day, and that was one of the most difficult things for me to get used to was meeting people where they're at. I thought that man was just going to drive right in that pole. Meeting people where they're at and accepting them for whatever thought process that they want to be having right then.
Yeah.
Knowing that that's what they have, and that maybe that's what they were grown up to learn, and that's what they were taught as a child.
Yeah.
Little minds are so easily impressionable, and if you only grew up in a negative situation, you're only going to know how to solve things in a negative way.
Yeah.
Unless you can teach yourself otherwise. And a lot of people never learn that. So the fact that you're out here and you're giving a way for someone to voice maybe a negative thing that they are doing in a problem-solving manner and saying, hey, well, let's think about this and have you come to a conclusion of maybe this isn't the healthiest way to do this, and then bringing up other ideas of healthier ideas of different ways to be able to problem solve those things is fantastic. That is an awesome thing to be able to do. And what a great location too.
Yeah.
Listen,
Yeah.
favorite place to be.
Yeah. Pretty soon we won't have as nice of days, and
Yeah.
trying to record as many as I can so that I have,
Absolutely.
A lot to edit during
Yeah.
the rainy season. But
Yeah.
I completely agree with you on all that you said about that. I think it's important to separate the people, the person, from what they believe,
Yeah.
and kind of focus on the conclusion and not identify the person with that conclusion.
Absolutely. I definitely understand that. I've got a lot of people who I love very closely, that are exactly that. I love them for the person that they are, and that is completely separate from the manner or the way that they treat other people or the beliefs that they have. That doesn't affect the amount of love that I have for those people, because at the end of the day, those are just like everybody else on this planet, broken people who have zero solution to the problem at hand, and so they can only solve it in the way that they think is the right way. And that doesn't make them at fault for that. That's just broken people being broken, and that's everybody. So.
Well, I'm so glad you guys stopped.
Yeah,
And,
it was fantastic. I really enjoyed getting to talk to you today.
Yeah, same here. Jesiah and Julia. Yeah, that's awesome.
It's really coming down.
Do you have a phone with you? You can scan this if you want to. This takes you right to my YouTube channel.
I'm actually going to take a picture of it so I can scan it later because my phone's at like 3%. And
That's cool.
I would absolutely love to see myself on that again.
Yeah. Right now, I'm working on videos that are. I put one up every Thursday.
Okay.
An actual interview like this every Thursday. There's some other stuff that go up, you know, other days of the week. But I've got at this point enough to get through May. I think.
Wow.
So I guess what I'm saying is
By
this
next
won't be up
June,
tomorrow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Next year in June, you can find your interview.
Yeah. That was great.
Awesome.
Thanks so
It
much.
was fantastic to meet you, man.
Yeah,
You
you
have
as
an
well.
awesome day. I hope
Yeah, you
can
as
get
well.
some more interviews out here.
You too. Enjoy the sun and
Thanks for doing what you do.
absolutely. Thanks for hanging out.
It does a lot more for people than talk. Yeah, I don't know.
You're probably right. Thanks again.